La palabra, right? The word, it comes in the Bible. Like what comes out of your mouth is a decree, whether it's negative or positive. Humble, because I can be like any human being, quick to judge something. And then I'm like, no, you're not doing that. You don't know what that person's going through. Energetic hygiene is essential in everything, in dealing with people and how you show up in life and in your ability to manifest. When the universe puts you on your knees, that's a great time to pray.
Welcome to the Integrated Mind Podcast, where we help you connect your mind, your body, and your soul. I'm your host, Belle Gottlieb, your integrative psychotherapist. And I just want to say, before I introduce this guest, this is a dear friend of mine, where she brings so much wisdom, so much spirituality, and she's also the founder of Bathing Muse Soul Bars. And please help me welcome Francesca Cruz.
Thank you. This is a long time in the making, right?
I'm so happy that you're here.
Finally made it happen.
How long have we been planning this?
At least 2 months.
Yes.
Right?
I know, you're so busy.
And I mean, look who's talking.
I know.
You're helping so many people. Like, thank you for that.
Yeah,
thank
you. And it's just when you sat down here and I just started thinking of how we came to be. And for those of you that know that I left the big corporate world and you and I met, and I think you were the first person that I kind of went for somewhat of guidance in the spiritual side. So for that, I'm very, very grateful.
Thank you. Thank you for trusting me.
Yeah, and through that, our friendship manifested.
Absolutely. And then now, look at this beautiful place. I mean, and in a short period of time, like we discussed it, and you really were like a good Virgo.
Yeah.
Focused, and you made it happen. So I'm proud of you. Congratulations.
Thank you. So I want to talk about what you do with the Bathing Muse Soul Bars, what they are, how you got to doing that, and the spiritual side, the wisdom side of your life, and how that has pulled you through.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's everything. I mean, I think when people think of like the spiritual side, it's kind of not smoke and mirrors, but it seems like it's something that's not tangible.
Yes.
For me, it is, I'm compelled to dedicate specific time to it every day of my life. Like, I truly feel that the success that I've had, whatever, in my mind, it's a lot of success. Maybe in somebody else's, it's not. But I feel very fulfilled in my personal life, my professional life. It's because I dedicate 2 hours of my day just specifically to, in the morning. It doesn't matter if by the way, I'm also, I work in the corporate world as a flight attendant or a cabin host in aviation, which is something I really wanted to do. I dedicate these 2 hours, whether I have to be wheels up, which means in this jet flying at 5 in the morning, I will dedicate 2 hours to my meditation, to my stretches, making sure that I've packed my soul bars, like setting the intention for the day. And that
integration. You integrate your mind, your body, and then you connect with your soul.
Yes, I conquer the day. I don't let the day conquer me. And how do you do that? You prepare for that. That is, and the way that you speak to yourself. I mean, la palabra, right? The word, it comes in the Bible. Like what comes out of your mouth is a decree, whether it's negative or positive. So how you talk to yourself. I mean, I will look in the mirror. I know this might sound super narcissistic, but actually it's all about self-care and wellness. I will look into the mirror and be like, you are amazing. You are awesome. You are, intelligent. You are respected. You are admired. And that is how I talk to myself. And I see the difference. As soon as you're dealing with other people, you see the difference. It's self-care and wellness are essential for manifesting anything that you want in your life. And you can manifest anything.
I'm like, I don't even know what to say, because you said it so eloquently, and I try to communicate that to my clients, and people don't understand the power that we ourselves have and how we use that power in the way that we speak.
Now, granted, I have to take into consideration that I had an amazing mother, and my 2 grandmothers healed with herbs and taught me that. But my mother I remember being a kid and looking at her collection of books, and it was all about metaphysics, like Ali McGraw, yoga. Before yoga was, Ali McGraw is like one of the first people that really brought yoga into kind of, the Western world, as well, not the first one, but someone well known that brought it kind of into the Western world, I think in the 70s. So even the books that she had, that she read, she was always telling me, the miraculous thing about human beings is there's only ever going to be one Belle. There will never be another one, ever. Like, how amazing is that? And to know that you are so unique, that God made only you, and they're going to repeat another Belle. That is empowering. Like, my mom would tell me that, like, you don't have to be jealous of anyone or anything. You bless people because blessings will come back. So I also started out with a really good base. And I think that oftentimes, focusing on wellness, you really got to go down to the root, because there's people are dealing with a lot of trauma, unfortunately. And addressing that, I think, is the first thing, right? So, and energetic hygiene. Like, that's,
tell me a little bit about that.
So during COVID, I found that a lot of people were reaching out to me that, had never really been so about spirituality, maybe, or about the importance of cleansing your aura, and they found themselves in this space of like having to sit and reflect, because that's all we did, right? We had to sit and reflect. And they found themselves in a dark place. And they would come to me and be like, yeah, I remember you always talk about cleaning your aura. And how do you clean your aura? And what do you just sage? And so I started creating, during COVID, these soul bars. They're soaps, but they're vegan, no animal products, because I'm all about like natural. And they had different herbs depending on what each person needed. So whether it was a deep cleanse of your aura, or wanting to attract, love, or wanting to attract prosperity. So, herbs are the original medicine, and they are meant, as I see it, as I was raised by these two grandmothers that were very about prayer and working with herbs and healing. They heal you on the inside, but they also heal you on the outside, because as you know, it's not just, it's so many dimensions of wellness.
Yes.
So then I created the soul bars, and they took off really unexpectedly. And it's still something, I know it's my purpose. I'm compelled. Like this year, every year I do the kits, the New Year's kits. And this year I was like, okay, I have so many trips, and like I'm going on vacation, and my boyfriend and I just bought another house, and not to sound like, thank you, Lord, I get on my knees right now. I'm like so grateful for all these blessings. And I just didn't want to pour all of my energy into these soul bars, because it takes a lot out of me. But then I started getting my usual clients, or my muses, as I call them, like, hey, are you going to do the soul bar? Can you please listen? Can you just do one for me? Can you do 4 for my family? And I'm like, no, I'm compelled. I have to do this. So, so it's so important to think about also your energy and your personal hygiene in the energetic section, not just, you brush your teeth every day, and you take a bath every day, but what do you do about your energy? And what are you picking up, or what are you giving off to somebody else too, right? It's about responsibility of your energy as well. So.
And I think, when you talked about what you say, I think people don't really realize how that impacts your energy, and how that impacts your mood, and how you come off to other people.
Oh, totally.
And I think when you're just speaking without a conscious understanding of, not a conscious understanding, but knowledge, like you're just repeating words or just saying things without thought, that is detrimental to your day. But also, if you start paying attention to it, you're going to see how poorly you think. Because people don't really pay attention of what comes out of your mouth. But once you start paying attention, you start really realizing how negative you are throughout the day. Or how little things you're making it more of a big deal than not.
Absolutely.
Or how you think about yourself. It's so much insight when you start really paying attention to how and what you
It's a decree.
say.
You're giving an order to the universe. And again, that's a biblical thing. The word is a decree. So you have to be so vigilant And then once you get used to it, like I think I started from a very young age because my mom taught me that. My thing now is to remain humble, because I can be like any human being, quick to judge something. And then I'm like, nope, you're not doing that. You don't know what that person's going through.
Oh, you just said something so beautiful. That right there.
You don't know. If you first, and oftentimes, someone can be rude, but if you sit and think, I don't know what this person's gone through. I don't know what this person's traumas are. Let me take the ego out of the way. Let me just be empathetic and take a second with this. So it's a combination of how you speak to yourself and how you observe and judge others. I think it's even more well-rounded than just that, because the universe is also listening to that.
I mean, you are human, so you're going to judge. And the fact that we judge is not something that we should be ashamed of.
Correct.
It is a natural instinct of us. It helps our brain differentiate on what is threatening and what is not. So it is a survival mechanism. So judgment is not something to be ashamed of. It's more of, let's be conscious of it.
Yes.
And in the present moment, let's analyze why we're judging that way and discern whether it's threatening or non-threatening. Yeah. And one thing that I just started adopting, and it goes back to what you just said, is when I catch myself judging or being bothered by something that someone says, I say to myself, and I connect with God, and I say, please, God, let me see this in a different light.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful.
Because what you just said, we are only seeing a glimpse of that person's experience, and we're judging them for those 5 first seconds.
Yeah.
We don't understand why that person is reacting that way. I'm not saying that you have to accept the other person's behavior.
No.
It's more of, okay, I get why they're doing that. Empathy, and then you set your boundary.
Absolutely.
But I love that you kind of just talked about that. And in a more spiritual way, I'm thinking in more of the psychological way.
Yes.
But bringing in the spirituality, which is essentially where I want people to start really connecting.
Yeah.
Just like when it was COVID and they had to just reflect.
Oh, yeah. This is going to sound a little... Don't worry about that. I don't.
Everybody's going to judge anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It's up to them.
I don't miss the COVID per se days. So many terrible things happened because of COVID, but I miss that part of COVID where you had time to spend with your friends, with your loved ones. Like the people that I spent a lot of time with during COVID, I saw 2 of my girlfriends that are like my sisters not too long ago, but we had to schedule it in like we did. We had to schedule it in 2 months in advance, So I feel like the stuff that we learned through COVID, now we're back into the rat race and it's hard, but yeah, making that time for that
introspection.
Connection. Yeah, for that important connection with human being. And I found myself that I was more during COVID, more empathetic, like more compassionate. Then when I came back to like the world again, to like whatever the new normal is, I have to catch myself again. Like, okay, stop. Why are you judging? Like, you're being uncool. That's what I tell myself. Like, you're being really uncool right now. Don't do that. And find the beauty in this. Like, just because this person is sticking out. Remember when you were a kid and you were a little awkward and you stood out? Like, you wanted people to treat you with compassion, right? I'm like, yes, I did. So I'm going to remember
do the same.
Yeah.
Do the same.
Yes.
Yeah, it's kind of, you don't have to agree. You don't have to accept behaviors, but it's just bringing the connection and empathy.
Yeah. And then so when you are dealing with someone difficult, right, and you have that empathy, you also have to think about energetically what's the residue.
Oh, tell me more about this.
So how did that, and it's hard. You got to, okay, let's put the ego aside. Now we're talking about more of the esoteric part of energy, because everything is an exchange of energy. And we talked about, energetic hygiene. Like you brush your teeth every day, you shower every day. You should really think about your personal energy. what you're picking up, what you're putting out. Like there's a responsibility there. So also when you're dealing with someone that is disgruntled or angry, whatever they project onto you is not just emotional, it's energetic. So it's important to cleanse your aura. I do my aura cleanses like every other day, just because I deal with so many people, just because I deal with spirituality, or the spiritual world, just because I create these soul bars that are healing. So energetic hygiene is like essential in everything, in dealing with people and how you show up in life and in your ability to manifest.
How do you do that? How do you cleanse my
soul bars? So the perfect thing is, before I would travel around with like a whole bunch of bigger ones, bottles with all my, herbal
you would have
mixes,
a suitcase,
right? Yeah, and then I'm like, this is not practical. So then I created these soul bars. So I'm always doing my clean as a whistle soul bar, which is an intense cleanse of the aura of and for those that don't understand the concept of aura, although present day, I think everybody knows, it's your energy field. Everything has an energy field. So your aura, if your aura is sick, right, means it's lodged with envy, anything you might have picked up from someone, anything, dark energy, it is hard to really get past and attract things. It's like expecting to drop on the floor and fill yourself with mud and then put on perfume and you think, oh, I'm gonna smell amazing, right? Your energy is so important. You have to make sure that it's clean. So I'm constantly saging my home. I'm constantly using Palo Santo, and doing my own personal baths with different herbs, depending on what it is that I want to attract, or if I want to repel something, or if I want to cleanse myself. So
what are some for cleansing? What are some herbs that you use?
Of course, the classics like sage, Palo Santo. I work a lot with Aesop, which is in the Bible. Jesus used Aesop. It's one of the main.
I didn't know this one.
Oh yeah, Aesop and it's a great tea too. It's a great, so soothing. Sorry, I think I just hit my mic. So soothing for the heart. So if you take it as a tea, it's fantastic because it's internally cleansing and externally cleansing. So. For attracting, obviously, cinnamon, but you have to be careful. You don't want to overdo cinnamon. Cinnamon is also great for canceling and for attracting prosperity, for love, but you got to know how to work with cinnamon.
Okay.
Orange peels for attraction and also for money. There's different things, and it depends on also what deity I'm working with. Am I working with Lakshmi and Oshun? Am I going to work with Mother Mary, and Mother Mary would be rosemary because it's the rose of Mary. And it's the flower that comes from rosemary is like a blue color that looks like the mantel or the mantle or the
robe
that she wore that's a blue. You always associate her to the blue. So it all depends on, and that goes back to everything that I've studied from my grandmothers to then, wanting to, I haven't finished it, but going to my master's in anthropology with a focus on religion, and then just traveling for over a decade as a writer and studying with shamans, with Bedouins, with individuals that work with archangels and angels, all the stuff that I studied through my mom, because she's the one that kind of walked me into this world of spirituality. So it's a combination of things.
So, God, that's so much.
I know. I should have taken a breath.
No, I'm just thinking so for people that are questioning and they get kind of uncomfortable when you start talking about other deities and other things, and can you talk a little bit about how that works for you and your intention behind it?
I always think of a fellow Sagittarius, because I take that into consideration too, the astrological signs. Whenever I do a deep dive, a profile of someone, I ask them all these questions, and it entails so many things. But I'm kind of a big proponent for what Frank Sinatra said about how religion is kind of whatever gets you through the night, whether it's Jack Daniels or not. But I think it's, for me, Jesus was the original hippie. And I don't say that in a negative way. I say that in the way of he was all peace and love and tolerant and compassionate and empathetic. So whatever gets you through the night, for me, religion is a balsam. Religion heals your heart. Religion makes you a better human being. That's how I see religion. I don't see religion as dividing. And I shouldn't say take, that's like a word. I borrow from every religion the most positive things, whether it's how to heal, whether it's a mantra. My thing right now is reading prayers in Aramaic, which is the original language of Jesus. So I take from everything like a good Saji. As I've traveled the world, I borrow from every religion, from every culture, from practices, what I find works best for me, that helps me heal and helps heal others. So I don't think there is any bad religion. I think it depends on the individual, right?
I think that's a very beautiful way to put it. Because how do I put what I'm thinking is, from what I'm seeing from you is that you see every situation and you but you are conscious of what is beautiful and you absorb that, versus seeing the negative and letting that overshadow the other part.
Absolutely.
It's kind of that's your life, which is very similar to, in the psychology world, how I always talk about finding that nugget in every bad situation and use your pain or use whatever you're struggling with as strength by identifying the positive part of that ugly experience.
Absolutely.
And that's how we are able to navigate in life. So that's what you do all the time from everything that you're telling me.
Always. I always see I'm the positive spin doctor. I'm a diehard optimist since I was a kid. Die hard. Like I'm not going down. Not going down.
Because we have a choice, right?
Yeah.
We can see things in a negative light. I'm not saying to be naive and have this toxic positivity, because that's also extreme and not positive.
No. And I had a cousin that was like that. She was a cousin because she was married to someone that was my cousin. And she would start off all, and then it would, so it was like,
it's not authentic. It's more like you're pushing yourself to always be positive by trying to avoid the reality of situations. And I think what we're trying to say is a situation has unfavorable aspects, and we see it and we acknowledge it. We don't run away from it, but we also use that experience and see how it can benefit us in our own personal growth.
Well, in self-awareness, I learned that from my grandfather, who was a military man who fought against Fidel. La Sierra Maestra. He believed in the importance of self-reflection. Like, just sit down and think. There's so many things that involve wellness, right? Like, we talked about the hygiene, energetic hygiene, your emotional state, sitting down and self-reflecting. Like, what is my responsibility, or how can I be more accountable? Like, what did I do here? What could I do differently? What did I learn?
Expansion of consciousness.
It is so hard, I think, for human beings to do that.
Well, think about it. Look at the parallels there. COVID is when your soul bars really took off. But why? Because but the situation forced individuals to really address what was going on. They couldn't hide it anymore by having to hustle and bustle because we were forbidden.
I had a friend that would party all the time. And when she had to sit and really reflect, I mean, she went into a depression. It was
That's why she was partying all the time, though. We are trying to avoid those feelings. But you need that reflection, because if not, you're just going to continue doing things that are not really potentially good for you or good for you. And you're just going to be in this rat race of avoidance and doing all these toxic behaviors.
Well, but it's a scary place, right? Because if you self-reflect, that means you have to sit, and you're dealing with a wounded child, right? You're dealing with
accepting responsibilities.
Yeah, so there's so many aspects to this, right? And we are our greatest project. We are, like, again, going back to that whole concept of that my mom would tell me, like, There's only one you, right? So you're responsible for you, and you're going to be your best friend. You're going to be the love of your life not in a narcissistic way, and like knowing that you need to love yourself. Before you can expect anything from anybody else or aspire to anything love from anybody else, you need to really love yourself. And you need that self-reflection. Like sit and self-reflect. And then there's the aspect of going back to the herbs, right? It's not only what we take, but I went through a stage also of like, how can I make my quality of life better? And then I brought in all the ideas of like vitamins. Like wellness is so all-encompassing. Oh, and another thing, now that we're talking about psychology, that I remember when my parents were going through a divorce, the smartest thing my mother ever did, between all the many wonderful things that she did, was she took my brother and myself to a therapist who was Ana Pando, amazing therapist. She says she's not going to retire. She's almost about to retire, but so amazing. And she was also someone that was very spiritual. And I've gone through many different therapists in different stages of my life and depending on what insurance I had. And some of them I gave therapy to, right? And some of them just sat there and like criticized me, and I'm thinking, this is not, oh God, I mean, yeah, it's a shame this lady's a therapist. But what a wonderful thing that she, at an early stage, took me into therapy. And with therapy, I learned all these other things that kind of, everything came full circle, like what my grandfather taught me, like self-reflection. And then sitting down and being accountable, and then thinking how you participate in things and how could you do things better. And so it's so all-encompassing, right?
It's like I can't think of the word now, but it's all relevant.
Yeah.
It's just relevant.
Yeah.
And I think, going back to why I started this podcast and how I practice is, I don't push it on anybody, but it's always there. And it's bringing that connection and encouraging to have a connection within yourself with a higher power.
Yeah.
And that in itself, not only me saying it's research-based, that individuals that have a connection with themselves and something that's more powerful than them live more of a happier life because there's some purpose.
Yeah.
Versus a person that's atheist or agnostic, which have no connection to that.
It's a sad way to go. I mean, again, I don't want to judge.
No, of course. It's not a choice.
Right? It's such you kind of miss out on the magic of life, and life is so magical. Like when I'm constantly seeing 222, 111, 1111, 444, and looking it up. Although at this point I haven't memorized because I've looked it up so many times, right? And seeing like the magic, seeing the messages, seeing like, it's like going to Disney, for the first time. Because when you go as you get older, you start seeing the little strings.
Yes.
But when you go for the first time, everything is just like, like looking at life as if it's something just wonderful, because it really is. There's dark spots, there's dark places.
But if you wouldn't have those dark places, you wouldn't be able to appreciate when there is none.
Absolutely. And if you're going to have those dark places, like, like really get down and dirty with the drama. That's the younger me, right? Like, just like feel it. Because I think that's the wonderful thing about being human.
Can you share something like that? Like, I don't want to put you on the spot.
A torrid romance?
Yeah, or something that was dark and how you navigated that. I want really people to see that it's...
My mother, the greatest love of my life, having a massive stroke at the age of 62. Of my Virgo. She was a Virgo. Oh. She is a Virgo.
When you said that, I got goosebumps because I can feel like how much that hurt you.
Well, and then doing the self-reflection and I didn't feel guilty, but I felt like for a second there, God, am I responsible for this? No, I'm not. But, when I was a little girl, she worked so much, like a good Virgo. And she worked so hard that she couldn't always go to my school plays. She couldn't go to my little Halloween things. She just, she was a workaholic. But she would tell me that's because whenever you want whatever, McDonald's or like whatever you ask for, I can give you, So that's how she rationalized it. And then when she had the stroke, I remember thinking, now I have all this time with her, all the time that I wish I had when I was a kid. So I had to process and self-reflect on that of like, okay, no, the universe didn't castigate you because of this, you know? She also has her life lessons, and she was so go, 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 and always like helping, and always that she
Very
did
Virgo.
very Virgo. The wellness part was in the books, but not in the practice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that was I was, you know, when the universe puts you on your knees, that's a great time to pray. I remember reading that quote and thinking, I got it. So we would make the most of it. It was my grandma, her, and myself. I sort of I was living in Mexico. I was going through a divorce. I sort of
To add to it.
to add to it. Oh yeah, it was the darkest night of the soul for sure. And I said, I'm gonna figure this out, you know, and I'm gonna be in the best company. So my grandmother helped me with my mom. I mean, this is someone who was a ballerina. She studied with Alicia Alonso, one of the prima ballerinas of the world. She's Cuban, but she was of the world, one of the main ballerinas. And to see her, like, she lost, I mean, we found humor in everything. Like, I couldn't really understand what she would say, and then I learned how to understand because she spoke between English, Spanish, and monkey. So then I said, Mom, now you know a third language, and we would laugh about it, you know? Or I'd walk in and it was like, because initially I didn't get the help that I needed to take care of her, and I'd walk in and she, you know, formal ballerina would like, this whole side of her leg would be like dead, and then this leg would be like, like this. And I'd be like, Mom. And she'd be like, it's cómodo. Like, it's cómodo.
Yeah.
So I just found, again, I put the spin on it and found the beauty in that. I got to spend all this time with my mom. I got to spend all this time with my grandmother. And we would just go on little mini adventures. It was a pain in the ass to put her in the wheelchair to get her into the car. But when we were on the road, you know, we were the happiest. So I think that's life, right? Like, you gotta find the humor in it. Humor is going to get you through everything. Music. One time that after her stroke, she was really sick and she had to go back into the hospital. I did this little test on her, and I put some of the music that she used to dance to when she was dance ballet, and she was out of it. And all of a sudden, not too long ago, I saw something on TikTok where they did this also with a ballerina. When she started hearing, I don't know, the Swan, whatever music I put on, her good hand and the ballerina came out, and she was dancing. She was back on the stage, and it was just one hand. And it was so beautiful. So laughter, you know, music, finding the positive, I guess maybe it's a journalism background.
What sticks out with that story to me also is you were thought that your mom being there when you were a child, you wanted that attention so much.
Mm-hmm.
You ultimately got it.
I did.
It's just not with the idea that you think you should have had it.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that I think is very powerful because we have this idea of how things should be.
Oh, yeah.
Right? God, I can give so many examples.
Oh, I can give you a really good example. A very funny one.
Oh, go ahead.
So I went to a card reader. She's fantastic. She's so clear. I know, and for my Christian friends that are listening or watching, they're like, but again, I take a little bit from everything. So I went to this card reader, and she's like, I foresee a new man in your life. Yes, he has blue eyes. Oh, an American? No, he's Hispanic. Oh. He has salt and pepper hair. Oh, older and like intelligent. Impulsive and passionate. Okay. And then she's like, I see him in a suit. A doctor. She goes, no, he has like a hat. And she's like, a pilot? I go, a pilot? No, a doctor.
You have this perception of like what you should, and?
Yes. Well, I am now happily in a relationship with a pilot who's got the blue eyes, but he's Venezolano, and the salt and pepper hair, and the little, oh, she said the dimple, and then she said, I believe he's going to be an Aries. I'm like, really? The sign? So, okay, I'm like, I'm like, are you sure it's not an Aries doctor who is like, lives in the Gables and just has salt pepper hair and knows a little bit of Spanish? No. So yeah, I had my perception and what I wanted, and then what I got, was pretty good.
Yeah. But that's the thing. Like, we have this idea, we're stuck on these, this is exactly how I want it. And even
that's very Virgo too.
yes. I mean, and I'm going to go back to that and piggyback that to manifesting. But we have this idea of how things should be. And we're like, this is how it's going to be. We plan, we organize, we have control, right? This imaginary sense of control. And then if it doesn't happen in that exact way, we get dissuaded, we get upset, we're like, what the hell? God doesn't listen to me. I'm not connected to God. Everything I've asked for is not here. Versus, because that's very emotional, right? Reflection, taking a step back and trying to see it a little bit more openly.
Yeah.
And going back to your mom and going back to your boyfriend, I mean, you got everything. It's just not in the way that you thought you were going to get.
Yeah.
But it was there and you had that magic moment, and bless you for being able to identify that nugget.
Oh, yeah. Oh, always. But that goes back to the early learning of self-reflection.
And now you have your honey.
I can dress him up.
Doctor.
I can dress him up as a doctor. And whenever I tell him that story, he's like,
but
and he's an Aries, by the way.
Oh, he is?
Yes.
Wow, who's your card reader? But seriously, like, it's opening up your perception, not being so rigid in how things in life should be and what timing it should be. Obviously, there's things that you have to tailor and you kind of have to take into consideration, but be a little bit more, what's the word that I'm looking for?
I think aspirational, as opposed to having such defined expectations.
Yes.
Like,
have a lot of faith.
Yeah, have a lot of faith. Hold on loosely. I think about that song a lot. Hold on loosely. Hold on to that manifestation, but a little loosely, because there might be some surprises in the way. And that's fine. There's a reason for that surprise.
Yes, which is higher than us, going back to having faith and trusting that we only have a small perception of how to see things. You don't know why that didn't exactly go the way that you thought it would, because we don't know. Just trust that it's there for a reason. How do you manifest? Because that's a big deal with your bars and your daily routine, and a lot of your life has been through that.
I was talking about that with my best friend, and he was saying, like, ¿Donde pones el ojo? And I go, yeah, but I put, not only do I put el ojo, not only do I put my sights on it, I pour everything into it. I pour all my heart and soul, and I always ask God, if it's meant for me, if it's for the greater, good of all, because we're not alone in this world. We're not alone in this world. So if it's for the greater good of all, and it goes back to the practices of those, it's not just, I'm going to light a candle today and I'm going to write my little note because it's a new moon, because we know that the full moon gets rid of stuff and the new moon brings in stuff, okay, and then that's it. It's a daily, it's like you're brushing your teeth every day, showering every day. It's part of your daily practice of how you speak to yourself, of dedicating. It doesn't have to be 2 hours. I know I'm a little bit exaggerating.
Give a practical situation.
Like 45 minutes for, but dedicating, having that discipline of dedicating that time to sit and reflecting, to doing your meditation, to doing your prayers. I have recorded prayers. I record my prayers, and I have probably 20 different prayers. And every day I decide which one I'm going to listen to.
That's such a good idea.
And people have asked me, can you record and send things to me? But for me, it's so personal.
Yeah. I think it has to do, again, going back to the energy.
Yeah.
You could be on one energy frequency, another person could be, and it just doesn't. And if it's something that's internally telling you that, I would listen to that.
Yeah, I know right now I'm kind of, like, there's one soul bar, which is La Reina. And that one's for attraction. It's sort of a dedication to Oshun, which is the goddess of love in the Yoruba religion, love and money and sensuality and sexuality. I always close my eyes when I'm really getting into things.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, right. I transport.
Sometimes when I'm even in session, I close my eyes. I'm like, I hope my clients don't think I'm crazy.
No, because you can internalize it more.
Yes, I have to, like, it helps me process because I eliminate all stimulus and I really concentrate on what is it that's something's trying to tell me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so, okay, I'm not weird.
No. I think we have that connection. I sort of transport too when I start seeing things when I close my eyes. There's a discipline and there's a responsibility behind it as well. So I do this every day. I cleanse a space in my house or the home that I share with my boyfriend or other home in Orlando, wherever I am. One day yes, one day no. One day, because too much of a good thing is not a good thing. Like you don't want to do too many baths that have to do with herbs, because then you congest also your body. So, but staying vigilant with my practices, and then when I sit down to manifest, like the energy is already there. I have my altar that's in my home with my pictures. If ever there's someone that's sick and they contact me, I place it on my altar. Is like, I know when I want to be potent and powerful and I need to get something done, I'll sit and put my hands in that altar, and it's like, cuidado.
Yeah. What do you have in your altar, if you don't mind me asking?
I have
I'm just trying to, for people to learn how to do things, if that's what
altars are really important.
I have one myself. I just curious.
So important. And nurturing it and attending to it and saging it, and like I have crystals. I have the pictures of my grandmothers. I have the archangels. I have money. What else do I have? God, I have so many different things in my altar. And
you're inspiring to rev in mine up.
Well, and it's important also to, every 6 months, I kind of clean everything, because you don't want to do it too often, because it gets strength. It strengthens as you put sage and as you breathe into it. Like your breath is really important. So I'll clean it I maintain it clean, but really like remove everything and put everything back on every 6 months, because you need it to get that strength. So when you sit there to manifest, it's going to be like,
how do you put together your soul bars? Like what goes into, you said it takes a lot of my energy.
Rituals. I ring specific Tibetan bells. I breathe into them. Like whenever I get the person's name, when they do they go online and they purchase it, I breathe into them their name, as much information as I have about them. So even preparing the teas that are the different herbs, that's not just, so yeah, it's a whole process. There's a whole process. That's why it does take out a lot.
A lot from me.
A lot, yeah.
And obviously that's what you've used to get you through things in life, and your manifesting and your prayer and your energetic hygiene.
For you to successfully manifest, and we kind of touched on it before, it's really important that your aura is clean. There's no manifesting without a clean aura.
And having that intention to clean it, it's giving permission for your soul, I guess, what you would call it, to be receptive.
Of course.
Versus hidden with junk or piled up with junk.
To be receptive, but also to put out into the energy, into the universe what you want. Like for the universe to really be, it's like having like an old school phone and like it's dirty and it's not, the connection isn't, no, you need that clear connection to that higher, to that yo superior or santo ser crístico, so that they can come down and communicate and connect with you and with what it is that you always are wishing for, that is for the greater good. Because it's like, if you're working on a low level and I wanna date that guy who's a married man, no.
It's even, obviously that is not ideal, always for the greater good. And I always say this because manifestation can have a really tricky, people take it very differently. Like, I'm going to create everything I want in my life. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. However, sometimes when you don't get everything that you want, doesn't mean that you're you're not manifesting. It just means certain things are just not meant to be for a bigger reason.
And holding on loosely in the sense of...
I love when you said that. Holding your intention. What is it? Holding
on loosely.
Holding on loosely.
It's a song. Hold on loosely. Yeah. Because sometimes the universe will gift you with something even better than... sometimes the universe will gift you with something. It's not in the packaging that you expected. You know, it might not be in the Hermes packaging. It's in the Christian Dior packaging. But the Christian Dior packaging, actually, the color scheme fits you so much better.
I love that.
Yeah, that happened even with dating. I remember I had this in my early 20s. I had this ideal of the person. And also when you're manifesting, you have to think about that. Oftentimes we write down stuff that's like very, and I am guilty of this too, in my early 20s, right? Very superficial. Like I want him to be tall, and I want him to have dark hair, and I want him to have blue eyes, and I want him to be athletic. Okay, yeah, that's important, right? But I want him to be single and emotionally intelligent and ready and wanting a relationship, right? I want him to be kind and empathetic, and I want to, so I remember writing down this person and then meeting someone who all of the really wonderful traits that I'd written down this person had, but then the packaging was...
Well, after you play with the outside for a little while, it's just like,
wait, the packaging was a little off. But it was one of the best relationships that I had. So again, hold on loosely. Like, hold on loosely to things.
It's going back to don't get attached to your outcomes. It's, engage, desire it, engage, try to do what you can to manifest that. At the end of the day, trust on something higher that if it didn't happen is for a greater good.
Amen. And there's so much more life to be lived, right? There's so many more experiences and people to meet and things to see and places to travel to. Like, there's so much magic.
I love that. Magic. It's funny, that was my word for this year, was let's make magic.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. So speaking of that, where can people find your soul bars? How does it work?
So you can go online. I don't really advertise it a whole lot because I feel like, again, it takes so much out of me. But you can go on bathingmuse.com.
Okay.
And the 3 classics are there. Deciding whether I'm going to put the kit up there or just do it more privately. I'm in that space right now because it does.
It's funny because everybody that I've brought up is having that kind of like that moment of, I'm self-reflecting right now and seeing what I need to do and not do.
Yeah, I know. But the thing with this, it's one of my purposes in life. So there's that. I'm compelled to do it, and I know this universe. I know. But yeah, so if they are interested in going, it's bathingmuse.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming.
You. Finally made it happen.
I know. Yes.
Again, I'm proud of you.
I'm proud of you.